Tonight we're staying at Under Canvas.
Well, there is a hospital at exit 65.
We're down at the Hoover Dam today right now. We're gonna... She's liking this trail. Liking it. Right. I'm recording. Pine Hill Cemetery. All right, guys. So, welcome to Pine Hill Cemetery. This is one of 4 Confederate cemeteries. I'm sure I see newer graves here too. But when there was a conflict going on in Springville during the Civil War, which I'm going to talk about, they buried a lot of soldiers in 4 different cemeteries. So we're going to walk through this one, see if we can find some Confederate soldiers, and I'll talk about what happened at the Battle of Springville, okay?
Right.
It's a little bitty cemetery out here in Springville, located off of 231. So look at this. It's a little bitty cemetery. It looks like there are some newer graves out here too.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
There's a baby one, it looks like. Let's go over here and look.
Well, there's 1990s. So
Yeah.
We know it was used in the 1990s.
There's some older ones and newer ones, but I know that they're out here. The Battle of Springville happened in March of 1863. What happened was Springville, Alabama, during the Civil War, this is pretty right quick. Let me look at this. You see how they did his?
Yeah.
1962, 1904 to 1965, Margaret Watson. Okay, the Battle of Springville happened in 1863. Springville was integral, guys, because it was a transportation hub between Atlanta and Chattanooga. And down here, General Forrest had a lot to do with protecting Springville. It was part of his guard because Gadsden's just right up the road. So he was down here a lot. And during that time, during the Springville battle, what happened was Lowe, he was a Colonel Lowe, he headed the Union Army. He come down here and attacked General Forrest and was taking over, destroying railroads and bridges and trying to interrupt their transportation and things like that. And it went back and forth between hands. And then Strait come down here and took it over. Then Forrest come right back behind him, took that back from him, and not only took it back from him, he recruited some of his soldiers to come over to the Confederate side. So, I mean, guys, that's crazy. Let's walk on down through here. So the Battle of Springville happened around here, and you're going to see, we'll be able to see, there's going to be some Confederate graves in here. It says Pearl.
Yeah, the graves that we were standing back, the family last name was Bragg.
See, and I think that goes back to William Bragg. All right, let's go over here and look. S.L. Cox, wife of T.B. Crow, born 1848, died 1908. So these people probably...
Definitely were alive during the Civil War anyways.
They were alive during that time.
That was probably your soldier there with the flag.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to look at. T.B. Crow, born 1842, died 1921. Private Company A, 2nd Alabama Cavalry, Crow. Thank you. William Benson Crow, 1872 to 1950. So it looks like the Crow family was down here a long time. They were probably some of the first settlers in this area because they're dating all the way back to the 1800s. And if you think about it, Springville, with Highway 11 being here, the railroads being here, the bridges being here, it was very integral to transportation routes and hubs and stuff like that going north to south. So I understand why it was such an important spot for them.
Right. Well, it's also geographically, it was the path of least resistance for the terrain because Springville more or less sits. This area is in between 2 sets of mountains.
Okay.
So it's a whole lot easier to get through this terrain. That's why it was real imperative. But you can go right between these mountains here all the way up to Little River Canyon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's just like a mountain pass from Little River Canyon up into Chattanooga. So I'm sure that's what the trail was.
And we talked about that when we were up there before, that General Forrest was up there. and so was Straight, because he did raids up in that area. So, these guys were all around this area.
Right, because a lot of these guys, these names that you're hearing were also folks that we had talked about at the Battle of Chattanooga
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
So, whenever the retreat was done, when Bragg retreated, a lot of the men came down into this area, which was right before the Battle of Springville. This is where they really cut it off, though.
Yeah. So they were not only just defending this area, these guys were going to other battles, helping those guys and coming back and staying on this area. They kept this protected as much as they could.
Well, strategically, how you take out an area and like reclaim that land is by washing out the infrastructure that's there and making it impassable. So, and that's really what the North was trying to do in a lot of these areas, was make it so that the South couldn't supply their people back up. And it was just inevitable that if you don't have food, you don't have water, you don't have basic, human necessities, you're going to have to give in or die.
And look what's happening after that hurricane.
Well, yeah, it's a very similar scenario.
There you go.
It's hard to get in and out of there,
Mm-hmm.
and they have made bids for that land. So,
and they're not allowing supplies and stuff in there. I'm going down this way to look at these.
History has a tendency to repeat.
It does. And that's what's happening. James Crow, Elsie
See, more Crow.
1886. He don't have a death date, but I'm sure he's there.
You know what? Though maybe he don't.
Thomas Crow, Private Company C, 2nd Alabama Cavalry, Confederate States Army. Here we go. See? We have a lot of Confederate soldiers here. This is pretty out here. Look at the mountains around.
I'll tell you something else I've noticed as I'm walking. The grass out here this is like a well-maintained lawn grass. It's very spongy. It's like walking on carpet.
It's nice, isn't it?
It really is. You leave footprints in the grass.
Keith. Ross. Here we go. Fred Phillips, U.S. Army, World War II.
2000s, there we go, yeah. 2014. So, yeah, this has definitely been in use recently, maybe still in use.
I'm guessing some people it looks like the Phillips buried their folks here. There's a lot of Phillips graves. I see a lot with wedding bands and things like that on it.
I was noticing that here too. A lot of the tombstones have their wedding anniversary.
Now, if you look back through, I bet you anything this is going to be your Confederates. Look at that. You see that?
Yes.
All right, let's look at it, guys. C.C. Jackson, wife of J.M. McCrory, 1845 to 1917. She was a kind and affectionate wife, a fond mother, and a friend to all. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
James McCrory. I guess that's her husband. Here we go. See if I can read this.
See, so there was a lot of people alive during that
1889.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, not everybody fought in the war. There was a lot of people that they left their property available to help the soldiers, but they weren't actively involved.
Right.
Which you're always going to have civilians, every war.
Yes. Like the ones that, and again, up north, right now in the Smoky Mountains, we have regular citizens offering their land and their services and everything to help with relief for these people that need help.
Yeah, and I think that's wonderful.
Yeah. Let's look at these right here.
Not since the Civil War, really, have I seen people come together. Not even during 9/11 did I see the country come together as well as people are trying to help in the North Carolina mountains. And,
right.
We have government officials that are being bureaucratic, and the people are going in and doing what needs to be done, moving these bureaucrats out the way and getting help and aid to people.
This is like Criers or Byers, 1851 to 1888. Okay. This is, trying to get this in here, 1800 to 1820.
Yeah, that tree definitely was
wow.
just a baby.
Oh,
when
wow.
these people were buried.
Look at this. Like this old, let's see, quarry. There's a lot of them in here. I can't tell because a lot of these graves are like really worn off. But I'm guessing all of this is McCrory. 1820 something to 1885. Guys, down through here, down through Springville, in this area right here, if you look around, you can understand why they fought for it and why they wanted it so much. Just look around you. It's just beautiful down here, guys. It's beautiful, and it's a great place. You could survive here.
Oh, very much so.
Vanessa is her name, I don't know. 1829 to 1875. John McCrory again. That family, 1818 to 1881. This is an infant. Let's see. I can't tell with some of these guys, like if they're 1896. I can't tell the last name. Murray. McCrory, 1896 to 1916. Robert McCrory, 1854 to 1940. Wow. There's a lot of McCrorys out here.
Yeah.
Patterson, Hare.
But, you know, Alabama is not shy of Irish and Scottish heritage.
No. Here we go. Clifford Thompson. Private First Class U.S. Army, World War II. 1925 to 1993. That would be him right there.
Awesome.
Oh, that's pretty. Look at this. That's engraved. That's not painted. So that's different. See? You can actually feel the trees and stuff.
That is nice. I like that.
It's engraved into the marble. It's a lot prettier.
What do you think, Grace? Is this a pretty nice cemetery? I see you just checking it all out.
She likes just looking. Going and looking.
Yes, she does.
See, these are all markers. They even said that some of these wouldn't be marked because they'll just be stones or markers, but you wouldn't be able to read them. These are some old trees right here. Look how that twisted going up.
It was. It's like trees at the house. You know what caused that?
Storms.
Yeah, this tree the top of the tree was twisted during a
tornado or something.
And it happened when it was young and it just kept growing the grain.
It's pretty. I see more soldiers this way.
I'll tell you.
Let's see what we got right here. This is Wells, 1890, 18 something to 1871. This is Wells. John Wells Private Company, East 60th Alabama Infantry, Confederate States, 1825 to 1903. Thank you, sir.
You know, a lot of these guys I have to thank so much, especially these Confederate soldiers. People think that the Confederate soldiers were criminals. A lot of history tries to teach that, but they're not. I mean, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, they were all criminals of their day. Mm-hmm. But they fought for what they believed is right, and because they won, they're not criminals.
Right. Well, we had that discussion when I was doing that one on Champ Ferguson, and someone asked me if I would do one on Champ Ferguson because they really wanted me to cover a Confederate soldier that didn't have a good reputation. Okay, well, he didn't. He was the equivalent of Sherman. But on
Right.
both sides, there was that kind of destruction. And there were men like that were on both sides. So it didn't matter. It's the perspective. All right. If you're on the Union side, you would look at Champ like he was a monster. But if you're on the Confederate side, you're looking at Sherman the same way.
Right. Now that's why I say both men shared the legacy.
Yes.
They were
baby.
both equally as infamous.
Yes. Let's go over here and see it. I see a Mason.
Hey, I was gonna say, there's our Mason.
Yeah, I want to look at this. Jenny Peoples.
Whoa.
Yeah.
This year.
Yep. February. In memory of Richard Crowe, born 1822, died March 1877. Mason. All right. So we got our Mason guys.
Yes, we do.
Sacred to the memory of Miss Mary Montgomery, 1830 to 1858. That's a marker and a half.
Yes, it is. That reminds me of those markers up there at the Daniel Cemetery.
Let's see.
They're very thin. I worry about them breaking. That one is broke.
Ellen Bothwell Crowe, born October 1st, 1855. Died December the 25th, 1855. Aw,
Oh, young baby.
she died on Christmas. Let's see.
Attaway.
1835 to 1887. Yeah, I seen that flag, but I don't know if that's a Confederate. Untouchable, never forgotten. Let's see. Yeah.
Wow. God, they're just about as old as we are.
Yep. Over here it looks like the Cash family. Here we go. Casey Cash, Sergeant, Staff Sergeant, U.S. Army, Vietnam, and the Persian Gulf. Well,
Wow.
thank you. Bronze Star Medal. Here we go. Judge Wallace Wyatt, Corporal, U.S. Army, World War II.
You know,
So he
Judge was
judge.
definitely a name that was...
No, he was a
Down here.
judge. His name was Wallace. He was a judge.
Okay, because there's a lot of folks here that their first name is Judge.
Oh. His isn't. His is W.M.
Yeah, my Uncle Snout, his actual name is Judge Etheridge.
Judge. Why would they name him Judge?
I don't know, but in southern Alabama, there's a lot of folks that have the first name Judge, older men. But what was like my grandfather, his first name was actually Penny.
Oh.
And his middle name was Murphy, so that's what everyone called him, because Penny was treated like a girl's name.
Yeah. Virgil Cash,
Cash.
Private U.S. Army, World War II. Those look like newer ones. Trying to stay away from the newer ones and going toward the older ones.
Broadhead.
Looks like Cash is out here a lot. Here we go. Here's another one. Benny Cash, Alabama. Private First Class 52 Security Department, Vietnam. And he died in 1968.
Wow.
Wow. There's a picture on his stone. Benny.
Look at this sharp looking young man when he was.
Yes, he was. Thank you, sir. This is beautiful out here. C.W. Copeland, Corporal, U.S. Army, Korea. So he fought in Korea. Oh, man, this is pretty. Looks like a new burial back there.
Yeah, it does. But that's good. If I'm gonna line a resting place, put me somewhere where there's some people of history. Give me something to talk about.
Right. Thomas, John Clyde, and Margaret Faye. She passed away. He hasn't. Gilchrist. A lot of these names are common to the area. That's a young man.
Yes.
Palmer. See what his says. Randall Wesley Palmer, May 18th, 1984 to February 3rd, 2003. And it looks like he's got,
Very young man.
yeah, he liked.
And he was definitely a sportsman and a Star Wars fan.
I was
Yep.
just going to say.
Nothing
and
like
he
an
liked the car.
X-Wing.
Yep. Swindle. I'm looking at that old grave right here by the fence. See it?
Oh, yes, I do now.
This looks like the header and footer of a grave. It is. There's a little cross here. You see this cross?
Yeah, they probably don't know who this is anymore.
It's probably a Confederate soldier. It's definitely from the 1800s by just way that it looks. You know? Get back toward the shade a little bit. What is that? A mushroom?
That's what it looks like. Yes, it is.
Charles Brandon. Pike. See, Cook. I know I missed this section right here coming in.
Nickname Rooster. I think everybody in the South's known somebody that had a nickname of Rooster.
Everybody, it's somebody in their family has that nickname.
Yep.
Yes, somebody.
Well, like in my family, the person that had that nickname was pretty well in the rooster fighting thing. Not proud of that, but that's what they did.
And that's how they got the name, right?
Yeah, well, I'm sure they don't give the losers that nickname.
1816 to 1887. 1850. Yeah, this is one of the oldest cemeteries out here.
Jackson. You know, I'll tell you what, guys, one thing about researching history and actually learning for yourself, it taught me people like Andrew Jackson were not necessarily the heroes that we thought they were.
Right.
I mean, they were important for setting things in motion, but as far as being like the hero, the leader of the people, no, they weren't.
No, they were a cog in the wheel, just like a lot of cogs in the wheel.
Right, and they were in it for themselves a lot of times.
General Lee was a cog in the wheel. People think that he was this great hero, but he was human like everybody else.
Right.
Andrew Jackson was human like everybody else. These guys we were talking about, Ferguson and Sherman, human like everybody else. Now, some people drew boundary lines about what they would do to other human beings. Some people did not. It just depends on how passionate they were and how much they felt like they were fighting for their own rights and beliefs and principles to live the way that they wanted to live.
Well, you know, I mean, we reference things, but I don't think I can drive home strong enough that in 1861, when the Civil War started, okay, Fort Sumter, they're firing these shots. The only issue at that time for the war was the tariffs.
Yeah.
Because, in other words, if the northern states shipped something to the south, they had a 1% tariff. But if the southern states shipped to the north, they had a 2% tariff. So the north would pay less, or would have to pay more to get goods from the south, but the south would pay less to get goods from the north. It wasn't balanced.
And then at one point, we were paying 99% of the taxes and tariffs on them.
And actually, after the Civil War, all of that went away, and the country went to bonds.
Yeah.
Which is what we should go back to today, because how a lot of us are upset, like there's a lot of people like myself that it's upset we're giving so much foreign aid when we have so many problems at home. And the way it used to work before the IRS was the government would sell bonds, and you would buy the bonds of the projects that you wanted to support. So if the government did not get enough people supporting a project, then we didn't do it. So in other words, money to Ukraine, if you didn't support Ukraine, you wouldn't buy Ukraine bonds, and Ukraine wouldn't get any relief. And right now, I imagine if they did that, how many people would be buying North Carolina recovery bonds?
I would.
You know, for North Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama, even Southern Alabama,
The whole problem
Georgia,
is we don't want to give money if we know that it's not going to the people who need it. That's the reason why that if there's any donations or money going up there right now, it's people going there doing it themselves.
Right.
And because you can't trust our government, they said no to the help to relieve our own citizens, and then yet send the money over there. That's not fair. That's not fair to our citizens. You're saying to your citizens, we don't care about you. We care about somebody on the other side of the world. We don't care about you at all.
Right. Well, and FEMA is a private organization that's funded by the government.
Mm-hmm.
And what I find amazing is how, you know, right now we have FEMA without money, but if we did the bonds the way that we used to do, I mean, up until World War II, Americans purchased bonds for what they believed in.
Well, the Red Cross and FEMA were the two central agencies that kept me out of New Orleans when I was trying to bring aid in.
Well,
so that's what I'm saying, though.
Right, but the Red Cross back during Hugo, when Hugo, what was it? I think it was 1986. Don't knock me if I'm wrong, but I think it was 1986 or so. No, it was after that. It had to be because I was living there. But anyways, when Hugo came through Charlotte, it decimated the city. The Red Cross came in. Everybody was thankful. Oh my goodness, the Red Cross is helping. And then a few months later, the Red Cross sent a bill.
No.
Yeah, they sent the city of Charlotte a bill to pay for things that were donated. It's like going to a thrift store today. I don't pay to thrift stores because they're all for profit.
And if you look at it, like the money, the taxes that we pay in every day, guys, part of that money goes to these disaster relief funds for FEMA and Red Cross and stuff like that. Then you give donations at places like that. Okay? So when something happens, you expect your government, the people who you've been paying this money into, to take some of that money and help take care of you. And then in turn, what they do is say, no, we're not going to help take care of you, even though you gave us this money. We're going to go ahead and send it overseas, and you'll have to fend for yourself.
Right, but another important thing with bonds, back when they would do bonds, was if people did not support it, it just would not happen. And that's kind of where we got off kilter right now, because I don't feel like, even in the state of Alabama, even that Katie Britt girl,
mm-hmm.
and that Tommy Tuberville guy, he, both of them voted for funding outside the country before they voted for funding inside the country. And they're supposed to be representing me and the people of Alabama. And I know that most of the people in Alabama want to take care of the country first.
Yeah.
It's the type of state we are. I mean, there's a reason we are the most religious state in the union.
We take care of our own first. And we're
Right.
not talking about Alabamians, guys. We're talking about U.S. citizens. That's what
We're talking about Americans. I don't care.
Americans.
American is not a shade or a melanin
That's
color.
why I said U.S. citizens.
That's
It's
right.
the citizens of the country we care about. That's the reason we fight. That's the reason we get upset. That's the whole thing. It's not about the South. But people all over the U.S. are feeling like this. It's not just us.
Right. Well, again, you know, in talking about some of the other issues we have, like with the immigrants, a lot of these folks that are laying here are listening to our conversation, I'm sure, just amazed. But with the immigrants, my family came from Italy in 1936. And they went to Ellis Island in New York, and they went through the proper process. They came into the country, and they became citizens. Where they have a problem is with the people that are crossing the border illegally, taking jobs, taking financial aid and assistance from people that are coming over here the right way, trying to make an actual better life for themselves.
Or the citizens themselves that need help.
Being an American citizen is not as much a right as it is a privilege, and the only way you can keep a privilege is to respect it.
Thank you.
And that's what so many people in this graveyard here have done. All of these soldiers, from our World War II guys to our Civil War guys, back and all the way back, they fought for the freedoms and the protections and the privilege to be an American citizen. And I think we've lost so much of that. And a lot of it's our fault as Gen X. I have to take responsibility because we didn't teach the younger generations. Somewhere along the line, I was talking to my dad this morning, even telling him that somewhere along the line, we wanted to go on coast and not pay attention to politics like our parents did. And look where we're at. So we have to, we're the ones that made these little woke children. We created this problem.
I know.
So
now
we've
we
got
have
to fix it.
Yeah.
It's up to us to fix it.
All right, let's move on down the road. I have another cemetery I'm going to show you guys. And at the next one, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll try to talk to some of them because it'll be a little quieter. We won't have a lawnmower running in the background. So I'll I'll stop at the next one and we'll try to break out a ghost talker. You want to do that? See if we can get some history?
All right.
All right. So I hope y'all enjoyed this little cemetery. And of course, I'll throw some pictures up like I always do of the veterans especially. And thank you guys for interacting with us on these videos and saying how much you like the Civil War history, how you like the veteran stuff. Thank you so much, because it does take work on my part to get these videos together like that. It's a lot of research in history. It's not easy finding these guys in archives and stuff like that sometimes. So I appreciate your interaction.
And one small favor before we hang up. Come here a second. Come here. All right. See this little guy right here? We need for you to hit that bell right there.
Yes.
And even the subscribe button.
And hit a like if you like the video. Please interact with us.
It doesn't cost anything, but it helps us a whole lot. It lets us get out there and bring you more videos. So until the next drop, guys.